Hello, everybody. My name's Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indy Real Estate Market Weekly Podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with Shelly Walters. She's back from vacation. Also, Kyle Morris is here. He didn't go on vacation.
Nope.
And we also have Greg Cooper here this week from Compass. Big fella, also known as Justin Griffith, is down at the home show all for the rest of the week, and he'll be back on next week. But let's kick this thing off, Shelly and Greg and Kyle. How's it going, Greg?
It's going lovely, Tony. How are you today?
Good, Greg. How you doing?
Oh, I couldn't be better. No one's yelled at me yet today, so that's a good sign, right?
It's early.
I know.
It's early.
I've jinxed myself, I'm sure.
Shelly,
Yes.
how was vacation?
It was wonderful.
What'd you do down there?
Oh, got in the sun a little bit.
She danced around in an orange dress.
Yellow.
Beautiful.
Yeah, was it yellow? I'm colorblind.
Well, we saw that you were getting some kind of birthday cake,
Yeah, it happened to be my birthday as
maybe
well.
a tequila shot or something.
Yes, and that was sent from California. That was pretty funny.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, their cake was cute.
Kyle, how's it going with you?
It's going good.
We're going up to Muncie today to look at some properties, correct?
Again, yeah. And I'm just glad we got some snow. I wish it would have been more snow. I like it when it snows.
I
If it's gonna be cold, like I want big heavy
You're
snow.
a sick man.
I
You're
wanted
really,
to go
you're just,
sledding.
I just would rather be in Naples, Florida right now than
Well, yeah. I
I'd
mean,
rather be in
I'd rather-
Sarasota, but I'm with you, Greg. So let's talk about the market. It seems like everybody has a different point of view of what we think and what we feel, anywhere from stats coming from what's for sale, what's going to be on for sale, what's happening this spring, to interest rates. Greg and I have a big difference on interest rates, which is okay. I mean, there's 2 or 3 people in the Wall Street Journal and different newspapers that always don't agree. But for the interest rates, whether we like it or not, at least the Wall Street Journal's announced a couple of more increases coming from the feds. Greg, let's talk about rates for just a second.
Sure. Ask me anything you like, Tony. I'm here for you.
What do you think that's going to go on with the market? Let's talk about the market.
We're just talking about rates now.
We're talking about rates right now.
I think the rates are going to wobble a little bit. They are down from where they were at their peak. I think in December, when the Federal Reserve raised the discount rate 0.75 of a point and mortgage rates went down, we saw that the markets don't believe that the Fed is in charge of the economy anymore. They believe that inflation has been tamed, and I think that we're going to continue to see a disassociation between the Federal Reserve's raising of the discount rate and mortgage rates in the actual marketplace for homeowners and home buyers.
Think how many increases we had over the past year.
Yeah.
And we have come down. You know what I mean?
Ultimately from the peak.
Yeah, we were almost at 7, right? And now we're low 6s, right?
6.25, just
5.9 if you're lucky.
5.9 if you're real lucky. But you're talking a 75%, 80% loan to value, extremely great credit score. No ratios to get that premium deal, and only some guys got it for a minute. It could be here today and gone tomorrow, but your average right now is 6.25 right now to 6.5 on a 30-year, and you're 15. Not anybody's running to go get 15s, but 15s are down a little bit. They're in the high 5s.
Yeah, the sticker shock is over. People have accepted that that's what it's going to be. And I think at least for the moment, and we'll get into this a little bit more, I think for the moment, a 425 house, just throwing out an example, that you paid 460 for last spring, you might pay 405 or 410 now for. So that your payments are going to be a bit similar in what they would have been between those two. Between a high sales price and a low mortgage rate, and a higher mortgage rate and a lower sales price, there's a balance going on, right?
You're right.
And a little praise, and you won't have to pay more for it than you have to. What they just told you it was worth. Yeah.
I don't think, by the way, the people that paid above list last year, who for homes that were in the first to second time homebuyer categories, probably under $500,000-600,000, the people who paid above list and sometimes significantly above list,
Absolutely.
I don't necessarily think that they hurt themselves, because those homes were still so low in inventory that the value of those homes, if they put it on the market, if they had to move to Bangor, Maine tomorrow, and they put that house back on the market, they're still going to get their money out of it, and they make a little bit actually. We've had a lot of people. 3 years ago, when we had quarantine, which was about to come on 3 years ago in March. Yeah. There's a lot of people who bought houses during that time who weren't happy with the houses they bought because their lifestyles were different. Some of those people are going to come back on the market this year, and they're going to recognize some serious equity. So there's a whole bunch of things dynamically in the market that were not there a year ago, not there 2 years ago, and we're going to see it play out as we get through the next 4 to 6 months.
What do you think, Shelly?
I was just going to say that many of those people, not many, but there are people out there that bought a house that they didn't even like.
Yeah.
They were just saying,
Well,
I have
it's
to
funny.
buy a house, and it's got 4 bedrooms, and it has most of what we need.
Yep.
And there's low inventory, and now maybe they can sit back and look more into something that will work best for
That's
them.
funny you guys brought that up, because when we were doing videos 2 years ago out here at the Palladium in the farmers market, we would talk about these things. And, it's kind of weird to hear them coming back to you. But I do agree that the people that bought $100,000 over list price, they might not get that 100 right now. But, if it's I'm going to speak by Carmel, Westfield, Hamilton County area, if they stay in it long term, they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, it'll appreciate.
I mean, the ones that I probably worry more for, and there were 2 or 3 of these that I saw happen right together at least 2 years ago. I'm trying to think of whether it was 21 or 20. $800,000 homes, $900,000 homes going for $1.1 million or $1.15 million.
Yep.
Cash. I mean, if those folks got to sell their home today, I don't know what they're going to do as far as what they're going to get out. Now, they can get out of them because they paid cash.
Right.
But where they're going to recoup that value or not, I mean, at 400 to 450, I'm not worried about you at all. And you might even make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
But $1.1 million, I don't know. If you paid all of that and above list a couple of years ago, I think you're going to have to sit tight for a little while if you want to get your money back.
But that's how it has always been, right? Like, real estate is a long-term investment. To move in less than 5-7 years, you used to be you're just taking a loss anyway. So now all of a sudden we're like 2 years you may take a loss. Well, yeah, because that's historically what's going to happen in 2 years, unless you bought it like right March of 2020, right? And you're getting ready to sell it now because you saw all that appreciation.
There's never been anybody who's bought a house and hoped that they made $50,000 or $60,000 or $100,000 in 2 years. Yeah. That's just that's not even normal. Yeah, unreasonable. Yeah. That's not even normal. So people who are saying, I want to make that money, they were lucky enough to have that happen to them in the past 2 years. But this is a market we've never seen before. So that's not normal.
And I think we are still continuing to see volatility that was created during pandemic still affecting the housing market today. If you bought a house in April of 2020, when we were all with masked up and plexiglass thing, good grief, we had all that, we're spraying and disinfecting all over ourselves.
It's terrible.
Don't touch the door. Don't touch this.
Don't touch the door. Don't breathe on the stove. I mean, it was absurd, for goodness sake. If you bought a home during that time, you still got a pile of equity. So if you're not happy with your $500,000 house that you bought 3 years ago, you do have an opportunity to get out of it because it went up so much in the last couple of years. So we're going to see that part of the market. There will be some level of market influence by those people that bought that weren't happy 3 years ago.
Well, and also talking about, we were saying this before we went on the air, this amount of concessions that sellers are giving right now too, that is happening, and sellers need to understand that there's a possibility that you're still going to do a lot of concessions. Where that's going to go in the next 2 to 3 months as we get into the spring market, we don't know. But I just closed one today. The seller paid $12,000 in concessions and also had a price drop of $15,000 as well. So it was a very nice house, but we just don't know where we're going, and we have to look at this on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, very true.
It's interesting too, like to your point, like I also think buyers have gotten a little bit more reasonable with concessions, because I feel like with past 3 months up until probably January,
exactly,
buyers wanted to take the power back.
Right?
Yeah, and sometimes they overplayed their hand.
They did.
And sometimes the broker overplayed their hand.
Yep.
Absolutely. Then everybody loses.
We had one at the beginning of January, $525,000 list. We had a broker come in the first day it was on the market and offer $450,000, and she sent us pages and pages and pages of information on why we were wrong about our price and it would never appraise. And I said, okay, then let it play out.
Right.
Thank you for your opinion.
We couldn't come together. We ended up falling apart at $480,000, and this was a $525,000 listing. The next day after the deal fell apart, we got a full list price offer cash,
and it appraised perfect and went to
and it closed.
And it closed.
And the first broker who was working so hard to prove her value was wrong, and her people wanted the house, and she cost them the deal.
Well, they have to understand that even a really, really good house at $525,000, we aren't seeing huge drops. And I've said this a couple of times. Even in 2015, 16, 17, the average list-to-sale ratio was always 98 or so. We've never been 90, 95%. So the brokers that are thinking that they can go to 95 to 90% on sale of houses now because, the sellers need to,
they're dead wrong.
It's never been that way.
No, right. For the good houses.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real key point. We were talking before we started recording the podcast today. It's a real key point. We all are in agreement. If you got a great house, if your curb appeal, if your kitchen, if your owner's suite, if those things are all really right,
You're ready to go.
you're going to get your money.
You're going to get your money quick.
Saddle up, go to the bank, and wait there for the truck to come and dump it in your account because it's coming. Now, if you got warts, not so much. I think It's going to be a challenge.
Well, it's like you said, if you have a ready house and it's ready to go, it's going to sell. If you have the other ones that has to have a lot of work and stuff done on it, you're only hurting yourself by not having it ready. Now, I also understand there's people out there that don't have the money to make them ready. Okay,
That's fine.
And that's something you got to work with.
Understood. Then you just have to be ready. You got to price. You got to
price it accordingly.
Price is always the answer.
Always. I mean, look, if you got yourself some seafoam green subway tile.
Come on, mid-century modern's cool.
Well, I'm just, there are times when there are things about homes that people don't want to take. And by the way, I don't know that I've seen, I may say this with an increasing level of frequency, man, do buyers want it turnkey right now.
Yep.
Sure.
They do not want to come in.
They're busy. They got to go to work. They got to get the stuff done.
I mean, they don't want to come in and do a $60,000, and they always presume it's going to be 15% higher than what it's actually going to cost.
Yeah, they always
fix.
they're always wrong on their assumption on the price.
But you know what? They want some money. They want some sweat equity for the money they got to spend, and I kind of get that. If I got to redo the kitchen or the owner's bath, if it's going to cost $42,000 to do the owner's bath, I'm not going to give the owner that number because it might be $48,000. You might have a plumbing problem. You might have a mold. You just don't know ultimately what it's going to cost you. So if you're a seller who says, well, my house needs $15,000 worth of flooring, then it's going to cost you $20,000.
Yep.
Because no one's going to give you that exact number.
It's the inconvenience tax.
Yes. They don't want to have to, or they're going to have to be somewhere else where
like
it's done.
that.
It's a really good phrase, actually.
That's an inconvenience tax. That's really good.
It is. Yeah, it
That's
is.
the word for the day from our boy over here.
We have a
Kyle
word
Morris,
for the day
FC.Tucker.
every week.
We have as we're recording this, we had some breaking news here in the last 24 hours
Yes.
in the real estate housing industry, and it's
In the finance world.
In the finance world, it's not a big deal for real estate per se. It is a big deal for consumers.
Sure it is.
So, Shelly and Kyle, why don't you guys talk about what's happened and what companies have done? Because I just got a text on my phone that will relate to the story.
Flagstar is one of them that's shutting down.
As is First Internet.
First Internet
Bank.
And Wells Fargo.
Wells Fargo, that we have heard. I mean, I haven't personally verified it. It will be, I'm sure, on the news or in Inman.
And that's in 24 hours.
And that's
a gigantic. It's not a gigantic coincidence.
Yeah,
And that's the mortgage departments.
Yeah,
Right,
Wells
yeah.
Fargo is doing business as Wells Fargo, but for the brokers, I hear that's a done deal. Okay, so the market is changing on the mortgage side. So what do you got to do as a consumer? You got to shop around. I'm telling you, compared to the big lenders and the brokers got a little bit of an edge. What you got?
If you have a mortgage in process with any of those companies, you better really dig and get information on what is going on, because I just got a text from one of those three companies, and they said their processors are on for 30 days and they're out.
Yeah, so they'll clean up the loans. Yeah, they'll give them an extension on some of the deals.
If you're 47 days to closing and you went under contract last week,
you might have to change your ship.
You better be looking for a landing pad.
Well, that's also, as a listing agent, I always say you need to be really watching the market, all your pre-approvals and everything else like that. So to listen to this information and know if you see a pre-approval come across your desk in a week from any of these people,
it's not
hopefully
gonna be
everybody's paid attention to this. But also, if you have a pre-approval from 2 weeks ago and you're sitting here getting ready to go to clear to close, everybody needs to be watching this and not just assuming that things are going. But I do that. I know you all do that.
Yeah.
You're watching your book every week on what's closing and what's happening and talking to the lenders.
What does this mean for like the listener or the consumer, right? Because I mean, it sounds really, really scary, right? A whole bunch of
it feels like that mindset sounds a little like 2008.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But at the same
it
time,
does.
we're all in agreement.
It's not, but it sounds like it.
It's an oversaturated market as well. Like we have, I mean, that's a market correction in any kind of industry where the market gets oversaturated and it's not as profitable all of a sudden. Then you take into account also, because interest rates did go up, there was less purchases, less refis, all these other things. I don't think it's directly proportionate to the economy 100%.
No.
But it is related to our industry, and I want people to pay attention to it, but I also don't want people to think, the village is burning either, right? So,
Exactly. But if you got a loan out there, I'm not saying they won't close it. Most of them will, but if the processors are only going to be there for 30, 45 days, and like Greg said, you got a 40 or 60-day deal
or new construction.
Or new construction, right. You better start paying attention and looking around, because they could come up to you at the last minute. You never know, and say, hey, you know what? Things aren't going to work out, and you got to start all over again. And that hurts everybody.
I don't know that I feel comfortable. If I was a consumer and I had a loan application out with any of those three institutions right now, I'm not sure I'm comfortable sitting tight.
Yeah.
Because
I don't know that I'm a seller feeling comfortable with my buyer sitting tight.
not a chance. Because what are you going to get 26 days in? They're going to send you a letter and say, oops, we're done.
Yeah, we got to start over.
Yeah.
And, you know, if anybody has any questions, and we're going to go to stats here in a minute, but if anybody has any questions ever about our show, you can go to 317-376-8001. It'll have everybody's phone number on it if you want to reach out to Greg, Shelly, Kyle, Justin, anybody. And if you there'll be a number there for mortgages. If you want information today, you can get it. You can reach out to Shelly or Greg or Kyle and say, hey, what's going on with this situation?
Just if you're a consumer, you never needed to be more in tune with what's going on than you should be right now.
Well, and you also need to have an agent who's very up to date with all of this as well, and
Yeah,
keeping their eyes on the.
So
on
I
the
don't want to.
market.
I don't ever want to knock the new beginning agents because all of us were beginners at one time. But you know, the beginning agents today, if you're selling a home, I'm going to talk Hamilton County. You better know what you're doing so that home can turn and go quick. And if you're out there by yourself, you need to reach out to somebody on our team right here just to get some information because we want the success for the new agents as well as the seasoned agents. But at the end of the day, back to what you were talking about, Greg, these people got to know what the hell they're doing so they can get these houses closed.
Let's just speak real candidly about this. Well, we love what we do. We have an incredible privilege to do what we do. The reality is we got successful because of experience. We were not at our best 18 months into our careers as real estate agents.
I agree.
It doesn't mean they can't be good, but they better be on a great team and have an incredible mentor. If they are flying by the seat of their pants, they're going to have trouble because
Or they're not with a company that doesn't have a lot of education behind them as well.
Yes.
You need a lot of help from your broker.
It's back to your buyer you were talking about.
You just look. This business is about knowing what you're doing based on the experiences that you've gone through. And we all work for great companies. We have great experience behind us. We have lots of incredible colleagues we can collaborate with. That is what makes for a successful experience for the consumer. Not somebody who has none of that. Who has a broker who has no massive support, no massive company support, no massive team support. You're asking for trouble.
Well, and I mean, as we always say, it's their largest asset we are working with. I mean, it is their huge amount of money that they are counting on us to protect.
I can remember, like, back to your point as a new agent, I mean, literally like the month after I got licensed, my brother-in-law sold his house, right? And he didn't use me. And I was sitting there like, wait a second, like I could have sold his house, all this stuff. And then once I got a little bit more time under my belt, I was like, I probably could have sold that house, but I know that other person did a better job. Like I didn't have, I didn't know what I didn't know.
You weren't
I
as
just
good
didn't.
then as you are now.
And he made the right decision by not using me because I would have figured it out because I do have the resources with the company I work for and everything. But if I'm going to be honest, like just true transparency, that person did better than I would have at that given moment.
I'm astounded by consumers at every price point who get involved professionally with either someone who builds houses who hasn't built very many. I had a $1.8 million buyer last year who went to builders that had not sold one home in the MLS and had built a handful of homes at best in a market that was completely shifting on its axis. And they're going to be responsible for the construction loan of hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they got involved with a builder who sold a handful of homes, built a handful of homes.
Oh, Lord.
Hey,
I mean,
if you give me $1.8 million, I've got a hammer and I can figure the rest out.
Well,
Yeah, you can, but
probably
not
better
everybody
than that
can do
builder. I mean, that builder had convinced these people that they were HGTV people and blah, blah, blah. And we're going to.
What happened?
Well, they're a year into it, and they're a year and a half away from it being finished. So whether that will ever get finished or not, but I just you have got to place your trust in people who have massive experience and great resources. And if you're getting sold,
If that builder probably would have been approved through a major lender, they probably would have never approved the construction perm on that because of the guy's credentials.
yeah,
That could have been that could have
Maybe.
helped. That could have helped the buyer or the person who wanted to build the home.
but the buyer was giving them cash for the construction.
Well, that's the problem.
They were giving them draws. And
Yeah,
so now
you don't do
they're
that.
10 months in or whatever it is. They probably got a foundation and some frame after 6 months of design.
Yeah, you don't
And
do that.
Whether or not that's ever going to get to the closing table,
Probably won't without a lawsuit.
I mean,
Or
what
with
about,
a lawsuit.
you've got supply chain issues. And so, oh my God, I mean, it was somebody coming
Never
from-
do a construction deal until you have your builder approved with the lender. I'm telling you, I've seen the nightmares. I've seen it. Okay, in the living
Well,
world.
it goes back to another issue as well, and this building and resale are a whole nother. But
Right.
the longer you're involved in a transaction, the greater your risk. I don't care who you are.
Right.
I mean, if you're a home seller and you got somebody that comes to you and wants to buy your home and it's a resale, let's just say, and they want 73 days to close, not without a whole bunch of money that you're not going to give back. Because there is risk involved there.
Well, that's where we were into people who needed to still find a house and stuff like that. They're like, well, I need like a 60-day or whatever extension. It's like, well, we're going to close in 30. Right. We'll do a lease back or whatever, but we're closing. We're not
exactly
waiting
right.
60 to 90 days to close because that won't work.
You know, there were places.
There were agents that were very furious about that, and I'm like, I'm not going to be sitting here 90 days and, 8 or 9 days into it, they're like, oh, we're not going to do it now.
There's a portion of the market, and it's buyers and sellers are not on the same level right now. Sellers have not yet come to the reality in many cases of what the market is. And unfortunately, some brokers have not come to the reality of what the market is. They're still trying to act on a set of beliefs that are no longer present because it was changing every week last year. And it's changing every week now, but differently. It's not, it just isn't going off the cliff like it was in a lot of ways.
It's changing every week, like you said, but differently. Every week, it's differently.
Well, here's funny.
And you've always got to be on
it's funny
top
you said
of
that because you could go back and listen to Shelly, you, and Kyle talk every week that we did the podcast.
A year ago. Or in May when it started to go.
We started talking about the changes.
We were talking at the end of May that the market was changing, and nobody believed us.
No,
but they thought we were a little bit.
They thought we were chicken
downtrodden.
But the fact is,
what sounds a chicken make?
Tony, you're just trying to see. Usually, ladies and gentlemen, when we come on the podcast, and I say something to Tony to completely derail.
I just derailed you.
He did.
He didn't give me the sound.
He did.
It felt antagonistic. I'll be honest.
That's all right. Don't worry. There'll be another opportunity where I'll be ready for him. You just have to pay attention closely to everything that's going on, and if you don't have somebody behind you, as you're a consumer, don't think consumer. As you're a consumer, don't think you know it. It's no disrespect. You could be a Mensa, and you're not going to know what's going on week to week.
Okay.
In the business.
Hey, we got a couple minutes. I want to run through the stats for your side of the world. Kyle, let's go through those real quick.
Okay, I'll do Fishers real quick. So last week, I did Tuesday to Tuesday, even though we're doing a little bit late this week. So we had 27 go on the market, anywhere from 254 to 2.45. 10 of them are still active, 17 of them pended. There's 42 days on market average for everything that pended in that week. The weird thing is, sometimes Shelly talks about median versus average. A lot did sell quicker than usual. I mean, some of it's spec homes and new construction, so that dropped it down significantly. Because the median was 9, which was really, really odd. It's super, super low. But there's 81 total on market, which we can talk about another day about how bad our inventory is. Noblesville, we had 23 go on the market from 148,000 to 1.9 million. 17 are active and 6 pended, and 52 days on market in Noblesville, but their median was actually 41, so that made a little bit more sense. And then 81 are actually on the market. So, but we were talking about low inventory last week, and it went down again.
Okay.
It's going down everywhere.
Right.
Not massively, but a little bit everywhere.
Shelly, let's hit the other side of the fence.
Less than half of what has been showing hit the market in even December. So it's.
What do we got in Carmel this week?
21 of them listed in the past 7 days. 6 of those pended. Active. Wow. We only have 85 active in Carmel right now. Average day on market is 40 for the past 30 days.
Okay.
Westfield, 22 hit the market. 9 of those pended. There's 104 active in Westfield. 74 sold in the past 30 days with an average of 51 days on the market.
Okay.
Zionsville, 13 hit the market, but actually there were 7 that were new builds just put on the market for a one-day list. So if you want to say kind of weirdness about that is there was 6 new builds and then 8 pended, but really 2 of them were resales. So Zionsville's kind of off on that. 32 currently active, and the average days on market in the sales of the past 30 days was 24 in Zionsville.
What do you got, Greg?
So I got one piece of data that I pulled because I'm ADD and I can't search more than once. So I pulled active homes for sale February 1st, 2017 in Carmel. 5 years ago, next week in Carmel, there were 211 homes on the market. And today there's less than 100. Wow. So that if you're a consumer, that just tells you buying or selling, you need to be able to understand what that number means for your particular set of circumstances.
And even back then, we thought inventory was low.
We did.
Yep.
Did you really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Can't find the right house.
Yep.
Looking at it, we've looked at all the ones between 400 and 500. Can't find the right one.
Now, Shelly, we're going to end the show here in just a second. Are you flying back to Mexico, or where were you?
I was in Playa del Carmen.
Are you going to be there next week again, or are
I
you
don't
going to
think
stay
so,
here?
unless you know something
No,
I don't
I'm
know.
just joking you. Shelly, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, how would they do that?
You can reach me on my cell phone anytime, 317-201-2601 at Shelly Walters Realty Group at FC.Tucker.
At FC.Tucker. She's not at the other company anymore, Greg.
I understand this.
Okay,
But we're
Greg,
in their building. I presume that
Yeah,
might
we
be
are
the
at the
case.
FC.Tucker building here in Carmel, Indiana, thanks to Shelly and Kyle. Greg, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you across the street over in the other building where Compass Real Estate is,
Yes, and
how
in
would
the
they do
lovely
that?
Playfair building on the Monon in downtown Carmel, 317-441-7166. Our website is crossroadcollectivehomes.com.
And then, Greg, what time do you like your text message?
Anytime between midnight and 6 a.m. Best time to text me because I'm asleep,
Yeah,
generally.
Okay. And Kyle, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, give us the data.
It's Morris Property Group with FC.Tucker. It's 317-649-5122.
And if you can't remember all this, remember this, 317-376-8001. Listen to the message, and you can contact any of our agents and get mortgage rates every day at 317-376-8001. Thank you, everybody, and we'll talk at you next week.